Hello and welcome to the Cardiac Cats YouTube channel. I am here for our final live stream of I'll just call it the period before the 2024 NFL Draft. We've got another real-time mock draft we're going to do tonight. Real excited for it. I feel like this is a good thing too, because the last time we did it, there was definitely a different thought process behind what I wanted to happen. We've had a lot of changes since then, and so Greg Thompson offered to some of the content creators from that, taking their shot at this Sunday. Saw it, joined up. I knew you guys would probably want to see something like this, so we're gonna take another shot at it, and we're gonna see what happens. So I want to pull up a couple things here. I'm gonna get the chat up on my phone so I can see what's up a little bit easier, because I'll have this screen up for me on my computer. Okay, there we go. So I've got a link here in the comments if you guys want to check out my big board for the 2024 NFL Draft. There will be even more changes this week. There are players I've still got to look at. I'll be honest, I've been a little lazy this weekend with it, and also busy, to be fair. Went out to see a baseball game last night. Been doing housework today, and so a lot of that sort of stuff. But we are here, and we're going to go ahead. We're going to jump in. I've got my rankings added on here, so this will give a good idea of which players are top of my board, just like they did last time. So, reading some comments here. Yeah, Cardiac Masterclass. Hopefully it is tonight. We're going to see what happens. Definitely going to try to trade up at the start of this thing, if we can. Usually you're going to take a shot at it. Last time we tried for Marvin Harrison Jr. Didn't work. I think at this point, like, if you're looking at it realistically, you have to send 3 firsts for him. I think that the Chargers are probably the trade down team. And so, talking about quarterbacks, that is. And that's just going to drive up the price. Even though you're going up for Marvin Harrison Jr., you got to think that these quarterback needy teams are already sending offers to Arizona. You got to beat those out if you want to move up there. So I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is realistically going to be off the board. I think you're probably looking at Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze. And that will come down to really the order of those players. Because right now, like, the way I think it'll go down, I don't know if one of them makes it to 8. I think if one of them does, it's probably going to be Odunze. The only way it's not that case could be maybe if Malik Neighbors' character concerns are a huge deal. It's definitely possible. So we'll definitely see what happens here. I am not going to do a freestyle rap. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. That will be the worst freestyle rap you've ever heard in your life. And that subscriber count will go to 0 instantly. So just not an option for me. It would ruin my career. But you're hearing a lot about AD, man. Oh my gosh. So I am not a huge AD Mitchell fan. And what I mean by that, I like him, but there's so many good players in this class that I'm more confident in. Because I do think there's very much a route where AD Mitchell ends up being a receiver that looks like he's really good at times, but just never gets to that consistent level. Feels like his college tape is sort of like that too. Like, we are talking about a receiver who never had, I think, even 900 yards in a year. And so I keep that in mind with it. And then there's a lot of talk about him taking plays off. I think that's legitimate. You can see that on film. And so he'll probably work out. But I think there are better and safer prospects I would put above him. You guys can take a little bit of a look at some of them here. You can also see if you hop on here. I already got one person. It's free. So it's available for you guys, whether or not it's good notes or not. We're going to learn that this season. That's one of the things I'm really excited for. By the end of this process, to actually see, like, if my scouting notes were good, bad, what I've got to learn, all that sort of stuff is probably the most enjoyable part of this. But this is where AD Mitchell falls for me. He is wide receiver 4, though. So hopefully that's some consolation. Jared Verse would be pretty nice. I have him at 15, and I think you could definitely argue he's over Brock Bowers. And in fact, I'll probably update this because I do think Jared Verse is a very good mix of what you're looking for in an edge rusher. I just think he's good at everything. And the only problem is, like, he's older, but these guys play for quite a while. And if you're getting a really good player, you're not going to cry about that, I feel like. Yeah, Leatu Latu could be a really good one there. I have him as the third of these pass rushers, but there's definitely a scenario where if you're not concerned about the injuries and you think he's going to be good, hey, I mean, he could be the best pick for sure. I'll give you that. And I mentioned that in my edge rankings, that not trying to scapegoat out of putting Dallas Turner number one, but I feel like you could put all three at number one. It's really just your taste. And for me, like, I look at Latu and what he offers. He reminds me of essentially Aiden Hutchinson in the way he plays, like, very technically refined player. Sometimes, like, there's a lack of strength on film that becomes an issue. And that's the major concern I have with him. So I think there's going to be games where he just goes off, and there's going to be games where he's dead silent. He's going to go from 10 pressures and 2 sacks in a game to 1 pressure and 0 sacks. That's kind of how I see him. But at the end of the day, talking about what that looks like during a regular season, that's great, because you're probably getting double-digit sacks out of him. It's just a question of what's he going to do maybe against a really good offensive line in the playoffs. So kind of my issue there, but I do think that he's a safe prospect outside of the injuries. I think he's going to be productive. And yeah, Latu had a stupid high rating. That is true. It was like 96. My background music, I'm going to be real. It's been like a year and a half since the last time I took a look at it. It's been a while, but I'll tell you, it takes an eternity to find this stuff. And my background music isn't really even the best, honestly. It probably needs to be updated at some point, but you got to find royalty-free stuff. That's a major issue that I run into. And then sometimes they'll write royalty-free on it, and then it's not royalty-free, and then you'll just get copyrighted on it, which thankfully, since I'm not monetized on like the actual videos, I'm monetized in other ways. I don't have like copyright strikes, which is nice. Yeah, Chase on and 9. Hey man, I would have done that. That's the disgusting thing from that year, but I would have taken Jefferson at 20, so that makes it okay, right? And I have been sitting at 5.99 literally all day, so shout me out if you subscribe for sure. We do have trades in this as well. Do you think Trayvon Walker moves inside more next season to cover the run? I do think so. I know Josh Allen mentioned that he was going to be asked to move inside more if they see Trayvon Walker the way that we think they do. Then yes, I think he will. But I think it's more so that he's going to be like hand in the dirt, playing defensive end. I think that's where he's going to be most of the time. And he does have the size to be able to kick inside, which is nice. So I could see it for sure. By the way, guys, want to make sure you all know right now, since we got 24 people in here, this is actually probably the most we've had on the live stream. I'm sure we're going to break that Thursday night when we're picking. We will be live during the NFL draft. There were 2 options for me this year. One was to go up to Detroit and watch it, which I wanted to do, but didn't really have someone to go with. So I'm going to go visit my brother this week. We're going to live stream at his house for it. So we will be live for probably like 3 or 4 hours, depending on how long it goes. So you guys feel free to join that. It should be really fun. And I've got a lot more videos coming out this week just for comments on what those are. The plans at the moment, we've got tomorrow. Ideally, I'd like to have this out earlier. I don't know if I will, but we're going to do predicting the NFL draft for the 2024 Jacksonville Jaguars. I've just got to record it. Already got the players down for it. I'm going to give you my thoughts on Tuesday about what player I'm gunning for the most out of everyone in the first round, give you some reasons why. Wednesday will be our final mock draft. There'll be the 6.0 one, so that will not be real time. This is separate than that. So that one will just be like PFF. And then Thursday, I'll have a video out for you guys with my final thoughts. I'll have a lot of extra time this week too. So if anything else comes to mind that I want to make, or we get any news, because we might get a Trevor Lawrence extension for all we know, then I'll be able to cover that.
All right, so let's get into the news. Let's start with the Jaguars. Jaguars have been reported to be in talks with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this is a big deal. 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 This is a big deal
So we got this thing kicked off here. Chicago's making their pick. Hopefully it's not Drake May this time. I like Drake May, by the way. Yeah, there we go. For anyone who wasn't here for the Air Real Time mock draft we did, Drake May went number 1 overall. So we got Washington, and we got Minnesota here. This is a good trade for Minnesota. Oh, they ripped them off. I can't believe that was accepted. I mean, I personally, like, if it was me, and I'm controlling both teams, I would make a trade between Minnesota and New England, because I think New England, quite frankly, needs to get more pieces. They need to build up their roster. And I could see them next year being in a spot where maybe they could go get, like, Shedeur Sanders. So this would be kind of perfect to work with Minnesota, get your 3 firsts. They did not get this in this scenario. And then Minnesota, they just got to get a franchise quarterback and someone who's young. They haven't done that in a long time. So, let's see. I can't read this comment off my phone for some reason. So it says, would you rather go high and edge or high end DT to improve the line? So if that's asking, there we go, Drake May, nice. If you're asking whether I take edge or interior defensive line, it really just depends on the player. Because if it's Johnny Newton there, I would take him. He'll be my highest ranked player at either of those positions. But after that, it's Dallas Turner, it's Jared Verse, and I think Latu and Byron Murphy II are like identical for me. So it really just depends on the player. But I think talking about what's a need, if you have the same level, I would argue both. I think, the front 4 look incredible in Jacksonville. You're talking about Eric Armstead, Devon Hamilton in the middle, Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker on the outside. I do think that the Jaguars need lots of depth there. They don't really have pieces right now. I don't trust what they have. I would definitely be calling back DeJuan Smoot at this point. And I know he didn't have a good year, but you're going to get him dirt cheap. You can throw in incentives. You can get that cap number down to where who cares if you're actually paying out, say, $4 million and he has a good year, but the cap number's less. So I would bring back DeJuan, for example. Yeah, I think we're answering that high-end edge or high-end DT. But you can argue on the interior, like, there's not enough depth there right now. You can say we got Roy Robertson Harris. That's fine. You can say we've got Tyler Lacey. But I think there's more the team can do. And I think Roy is a player that is probably here for one more year. I think that would make sense. You look at, like, cap numbers for them, they're spending each year. It's a pretty strong argument for it. Well, actually, I'll give you guys a look at that, since we're not going to trade up just yet. So I've got all these numbers accumulated for what the Jaguars are paying this year. So you can see cap hits, you can see APY. This is what I pay attention to, because the way I think about it is you're paid, essentially $255 million from the league this year. And then you're paying out so much of that this season. You're usually paying out the same amount each year. Well, the cap hit can look different. This is what they're really paying. And at this moment, they're paying just under. But you go to the future, it's going to go up because you got Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. You've got a lot of players that got to get re-signed still, and you're already at $216 million. So I do think that's something that they're going to have to do, is like get rid of players like Roy Robertson Harris, who make $7 million, but they aren't really starters. So that sort of stuff. Now, yeah, this is unfortunate. We got Malik Neighbors going to the Cardinals and Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Giants. So I know we didn't send a trade offer, but we can't do that, quite frankly. Can't take Neighbors at 4. We're going to kill ourselves doing it. And unfortunately, it's an AI making the pick, because I know the Cardinals aren't doing that for sure. So what we're going to do here, the Chargers are either going to take Odunze here or not. At number 7, I would be shocked if the Titans did, because that's not a team I'm worrying about with Odunze. I'm worrying about Neighbors going there. So we're going to shoot a trade offer to Atlanta to move up. It's not going to go through until we get out of pick 7, though, because I can't shoot the trade offer and then our player's not there. You know, we could be in a situation where Fashanu is the top guy. So for our trade offer, oh, I have been sent a trade offer. Hold up. That is, okay, no, screw you guys. That's awful. We're going to shoot him 216, and we'll shoot him a future 4th. Wait, okay. And Romo Dunze goes off the board, so we're not doing that. So we got 3 quarterbacks and 3 wide receivers. Yeah, it is crazy. That's how I feel about it, too. Because this ain't happening in real life. You're not getting these players all going in a row. The only way it's possible is if the Chargers really want to stay put and they take Neighbors. I don't think that happens. But unfortunately, like, when we do the PFF mock drafts, there's a lot more realism in them because you don't get all the fans who want, like, wide receivers so bad. And so you can actually get players around where they're supposed to. Whereas in this, like, we've got 3 receivers going in a row. This would be one of the craziest wide receiver classes ever, talking about how high players went. But the benefit of this too, and why we'll kind of pivot here, when you get receivers going this early, and hopefully we get some players that aren't supposed to go up here, it pushes other guys down the board that maybe aren't at the strongest positions, but are still really good players. So that's probably going to be about how we try to pivot here. Because I don't think we'll take wide receiver round 1. Realistically, that won't happen. We'd have to probably move back to do it. See if we've got anyone looking for a trade. Yeah, I think 8 and 9 we're going to consider it too, so that's unfortunate. I'm sure Atlanta's looking for offers and didn't get any. So pick number 8 here. Atlanta goes with Dallas Turner. It's not falling very well for our big board here. So we've got, right now, after that pick, so we've got 8 selections down. All of our top receivers are gone. Joe Alt's gone. Dallas Turner's gone. And you got 3 quarterbacks gone. No one's taking J.J. McCarthy, which that I think on draft day, J.J. McCarthy's going to go somewhere around here. He'll probably just go with one of these picks. But we are in a situation where I don't think I'll trade up. I think the only way I do is if tackles start going and Fashanu's still available, then I'll consider a move up with the team. It's possible it could be 3 quarterbacks, 3 wide receivers. It would just go against everything we've heard from the Chargers, which is that they want to move out and they want to go get more picks, which makes a ton of sense too. Like, well, I argue for the Patriots to be that team, the Chargers have also got a terrible cap situation and might want to do something. Okay, so that's not realistic at all, but we got the Detroit Lions moving up, not giving up anything to do it, and they trade with a division rival. Where have we seen this one before? I feel like Jamison Williams went in almost the exact same way. You guys let me know what players you're looking at for our pick here. We've got quite a few good ones still. We've got Fashanu, Johnny Newton, Quinyon Mitchell would be phenomenal, although I don't think we'll be able to get him unless we trade up. And part of the problem, too, are 2 trade-up spots, 13 and 14. One's already been traded with for the Bengals, and 14 for the Saints. It's an AI. And so the AI are really hard to trade with on here. They do not take anything that's fair. So we're probably going to be staying put at 17 or considering someone trading up with us. Yeah, really bizarre trade. Also, the fact that the Bengals have already moved up to 13 before they even know who's going to be on the board. We've got 4 players still left here that got to go. So there's your players that have gone. Once again, this is a 4-rounder, by the way. So we're going to have some time here. So we will be very much open to moving down if we get a good offer, because we can get more picks in this range, get more shots at the board, and just like the real life draft, there's going to be some players who fall. I would imagine we're picking out my top 60 prospects throughout this whole video. That'd be my expectation. Let's see who the Lions did this for. I can see it being Newton. It's Arnold. All right. So we're going to get a different player than we did last time. And that's a lot to give up for Arnold. I mean, I get they robbed them, but McKinstry's going to be available around that range. The earliest he could go is like 17. So they're going to have the opportunity to move up way less spots. I do like Kool-Aid. He's been a weird player to rank for me because there's so many players that I'm high on in this class. So I've kind of forced them up my board a little bit, and there goes McCarthy to New England, kind of like we thought. Kool-Aid is, I think, 18th overall for me. And I've said this before with the cornerbacks. I could see a world where he's the best guy out of this class. I think it's possible. You know, he proved himself this last year. Before this last year in 2022 he did. And he just wasn't targeted much. So people have kind of forgot about him. They pushed him down the board. If you're talking about a player to take advantage of falling in the first round, Kool-Aid McKinstry could very well be one. But I don't think if you're going to move back, that you want to move back farther than maybe like 21 with the Miami Dolphins. Because I think Philadelphia would be a team that would definitely be looking at that. If Minnesota stays put at 23, they could be considering it. I don't think that'll be the case, but hey, I would be a huge fan going offensive line in the first. And right now, with the way things have fallen so far, and this might change because last time we had OT go at 12, we had Fashanu go here, or Fashanu. I would be a huge fan of it. I know it's not the top priority, but when you can get really good starters on your offensive line early in the draft, that is a good outcome for the team because you're saving a lot of money. If we go out and we get Fashanu, or if we go out and we get Latham, or throw in your guy, right, whoever you're a fan of, that's $17 million you're saving off of Cam Robinson. Now you can go trade him to another team as well. Keep in mind those teams are probably going to push down the cap hit a bit this year so they can afford it. That's something I'm considering in the first round. And if we don't get the receivers, it might be my top option because I think Fashanu is a perfect fit for what Jacksonville wants. Let's see. Got a comment from Jay here. If Brian Thomas Jr., Fuanga, and Fashanu are gone, I trade way back. Maybe out of round 1, trade down to 33 with Carolina, trade 17 for picks 33, 65, 101, maybe a 2025 pick. That would definitely be in consideration. I think moving down really far would be a good outcome here if our guys are gone. Looking at the board now, we've got Bo Nix going at 12. That's good for us. We want to see these quarterbacks go. We've got 4 picks before we pick, and we're not moving up. It's just not going to happen. There's no one we can really move with. So, I mean, the reason why I say that, you've got the AIs here. Trying to figure out, what did Las Vegas do? So they moved back to 18. I'm assuming they moved really far back. But we've got the Bengals here. They're an AI. We got the Saints who are an AI. Seahawks who are an AI. We don't know what they're going to do. The only team that we could even talk to about a trade is the Colts. So probably not going to happen. But we've got a lot of good options here. I mean, our worst case scenario is these top 4 guys go. I would stay put for the top 3. I'd even stay put for Fuanga. I think he's the right guard of the future personally. And I think you could have him play tackle this year. If you want to trade Cam, you can do that. I don't know how I deal with that exactly, but I'd stay put for any of those guys. So after this pick, we might just know we're staying put at 17, unless we get like a really good offer and we could try to pivot, maybe get Kool-Aid, something like that. But a lot of players I really like. Yeah, see, I wonder if you watched my video on potential kind of wild trades we could do. because that was a thought, to trade with Kansas City and flip him Cam Robinson. I do think that's a possibility, and they have a lot of money available. And this makes me sad right here. So it's definitely a possibility that we could do something like that. However, because Fashanu just went, the only way I'm trading Cam Robinson is if we're landing Fuanga or Latham, perhaps, which I don't really want to land Latham. I think he's got too much bust potential. So he's not an ideal first-round pick for me for that reason, although he could be incredible. I think Fuanga as a guard is potentially better than Fashanu as a tackle, but the tackle is more important, and I do think that what Fashanu does is a better fit for Jacksonville. So I do have him higher, and I do think as well, you just talked about like the makeup of what this offense is going to do. They want to go out and pass the ball a ton. And I think that Fashanu is so much better of a fit for that at the end of the day. And then Fuanga, like, he can do it. He can pass block a lot, but he's more of a mauler, which I do like on the interior. I want that kind of guy on our team. You're going to have to forgive me, guys, for constantly flipping back between Fashanu and Fashanu. I don't know why I do this to myself, but I can't say their names for the life of me. Yeah, the value for Cam, I don't think it's higher than that. I think your contract would have to be substantially cheaper right now to generate more capital than a late third. So I agree. Yeah, I'm not on speaking terms with KC. I hate KC. But yeah, Quignon's he's just fallen to us right now, but I feel like that dream's going to die here at number 15. We're probably going to be taking Newton. This will probably be Fuanga, I bet. Yeah, and Fashanu does have very small hands. That is what scared me about him. As we see Verse goes off, that's fine for us. I do think that while he has very small hands, that he has an incredible ability to recover in how he plays. And that's one of the biggest things I like about him, is that for as much as I think he's a technically refined player compared to other prospects, which makes up for that hand size, he also is just unlike anyone else at being able to do what he needs to do to keep himself between the quarterback and the rusher. So there's things about him, especially the athletic profile, that are just incredible, that make up for something like the hand size. So while it's bad, I look at it like maybe that can push him down the board and we go get a top 10 prospect because of it. I think that'd be a great outcome. I'm going to let people know the 17 is open for business. Does not mean we're going to trade out, because I do think at this point we're guaranteed a very good pick, but we will take offers. There's one thing I do like that Trent Baalke said, was that you're usually going to be getting a better outcome if you have more picks if you're the team trading down. Now you got to hit on those, which is the big problem that Baalke has, because he just doesn't do that after the first round that often. But I do agree with the philosophy. It's really hard for me this year because I'm like, I want Malik Neighbors so bad, like that kind of player in the first round, but I don't know if you can do that. Okay, I think I know who we might be picking. Got Brian Thomas Jr. off the board. That is really good for us. And the same guy traded out of 15 last time, so that's not too shocking. Yeah, I think Fuanga did have a higher RAS. Okay, we got a trade offer. We're going to be looking at these at least. Get rid of this. So we got... Alright, here's what this essentially means. This is 30, so we move back 13 spots. Next year, we're getting a very late second rounder, and we're getting a late third rounder this year. I'm not accepting that, because it's just not enough capital to make this kind of move. The second is good, but I'd want him to be a little bit closer to consider it. If you guys want to take that, let me know. We can take it. But Mitchell's falling into our lap. And I know I've got Newton right above him too, if players are very close, you can consider taking maybe someone who's ranked just slightly lower if they're a bigger need. And I do think that Quinyon Mitchell is a much bigger need for this team. Now, you guys let me know in the comments what you want to do here. Do you want to trade? Do you want to stay put? If you want to stay put, do you want to take Mitchell? Do you want to take Newton? So I imagine we're going to stay put, though, unless we get another offer and someone's giving us like the Cardinals trade from last time. All right, let's see. We'll reject. Everyone's saying no. He could be really good in the NFL. I just don't know how his career is going to go. It depends on the situation he's in. Ironically, I think Jacksonville is a great situation for him. Because you do got 3 receivers, I think, that are a good pairing around him for him not to have to be a wide receiver 1 right off the bat. But we really want a wide receiver 1. I'm going to click X. We got Fuanga off the board. It's Quinyon Mitchell sitting here, guys. You want Mitchell or you want Newton? Got an air trade offer. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jay. Fuanga just went. This is worse. This is just objectively worse. He's just saying me this year's second. He got rid of the third, so that's a reject. Got Mitchell. If Mitchell's there, get him. We got time, so I'm not going to rush this. We've got a bunch of people who want another pick. We got more trade offers. Okay, this is not enough. Can't take that. Mitchell, Mitchell, Mitchell. All right. So with the 17th pick in the 2024 overall NFL draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo. Fuck that one up. It's sad. We did get one trade down at the end. Just didn't have the offer. I think that made it worth it. Because these are, for me, like, I don't have Mitchell as a blue chip prospect at this moment, but I think he's as close as you could possibly get. Like, of all the A-plus guys for me. And I might make him a blue chip by draft day at the end of the day. Because he's done everything people have asked of him. And other people are saying the same thing. Like, they want him to be able to play press coverage. He goes out and plays press coverage at the Senior Bowl. He does it better than everyone else. You know, just doing all this stuff. And I think he just proved himself throughout the whole offseason. Everything he's been asked of, he's outperformed expectations by miles. And so I do appreciate that with him. I think he needs to be rewarded in some sense and where we rank him. And I think that at this point, as big as I've been on Terry and Arnold, like, Mitchell is a better prospect at this point. Yeah, it has been pretty unrealistic, but we're going to roll with it the best we can. All right, we got Whip Hero here. What's up, Cardiac? Been a Jags fan for 2 years now. Was never into football until I watched the game, and just like the Jags, glad to see you're one of the people making Jags content. I watch you and Duval. Yeah, I have been a Jags fan for, at this point, going on nearly 7 years. I did not watch football super close as a child. I am 24 years old, in case you guys are unaware of that, so I'm a younger guy. But I started watching kind of late in high school, and I used to be a Bucks fan most of the time as a child, and I kind of flipped around a bit. But in 2017, I've always liked Jacksonville, and I started watching their games. First game I watched was actually what was it? It was a Chargers game. It was the one where Josh Lambo got the game winner in overtime. And so that was an awesome game to watch, but I started rooting for him that year, and I've been a fan ever since, without any sort of question there. But yeah, they've been a roller coaster for sure. We literally started at the top, went all the way down, and now we're, at the top of another ramp, I think, right now. Yeah, I don't know if there's 10 cornerbacks better than Quinyon Mitchell. I'm going to be real. I might disagree on that one, but that's all right. So, as far as our other picks here, got Troy Fatanu at 18. That's a really good pick for the Bears. Do like that. You got Marius Mims to the Rams. I know Steelers fans got to be pissed about that one. Now, well, we could talk about maybe what we do at 48, what we're looking at there. I will say, ideally, I don't want to trade up if we can. I will avoid that. So, it kind of depends on the board, though. Because, for example, if Johnny Newton is like getting into the late first round, I might make that move. Like, I think it's worth it. So, he'll be a name to watch. I think, well, McKinstry would have been, but he got Mitchell, obviously. And I'd probably be looking at some of these guys here, like Murphy, Latu, Barden. But look at AD Mitchell. Darius Robinson, I wouldn't do a huge move for, but I do think he'd be a nice addition to this team. I'll have to check out Duval Dave. I'll have to make a note for that. I'm trying to check out some of the other channels around my size and do some collaborations with some of them here this off season, but haven't been able to do too much. I've got a couple people on. I got the Teal Corner Pod, and then mostly some of our fans on Twitter. But it would definitely be great to get to watch some more channels. Xavier Legette at 48 would be really nice. That would be a great pick. I'm a big fan of his. I think he personally got a little too much hate at the Senior Bowl, having been out there and watched like every rep of him that first day, because it was him and it was Walker I wanted to watch, because obviously we're big on receivers. So I was trying to see if Jacksonville was monitoring those guys. And, you know, it just felt like everything thrown Legette's way was either like barely outside of his catch radius, or, you know, a couple times he dropped it and it just threw him off. It was a really bad day for him. So we got the Packers up now. They are going to take, and they traded up to 21, Cooper DeJean. That's a player I don't have a ton of thoughts on. There's some guys like that in this class that I just don't think Jacksonville is going to consider, so I haven't done my research. Like, if you look at my linebacker rankings on here, it is a barren wasteland. Like, I've got 7 guys, and these notes are not that updated, to be honest. I am a big fan of Cooper, and that's Edgerrin Cooper, not Cooper DeJean. But there's some guys like that, and I think DeJean's one of them. Plus, he's more of a zone guy. I don't think it makes too much sense for Jacksonville. I do think Tavondre Sweat will probably fall to 48. I think he'll probably fall even further than that. I definitely see that happening. He's another one I'm probably average on as far as rankings, so I don't think I've picked him in a single mock draft to this point for that reason, because most of the ones I've done, whether it's real time or it's PFF, have him ranked a lot higher, and so he just never ends up really being an option. Quignon is a tackler. Let me see what my notes were on him. The big plays I did see, that's not really as much with tackling. I actually don't think I had any notes on his tackling. So I don't really have an opinion to give, I guess. Got Legette to 24 with the Chiefs. That is a ripoff. Once again, some of these trades have been awful tonight. But that's a good trade for the Chiefs. I don't know if I'd take Legette that early, especially when you got, you know, Johnny Newton on the board, McKinstry on the board. There's a lot of players I'd consider maybe more there. But yeah, I mean, Quignon as a tackler, I didn't think anything stood out too much there. I do think he's a very good player, though. Like, and funny enough, like, I'll tell you my opinion on him when I first watched him. Okay, so I heard about him because, well, like everyone else, we heard about the 4 interception game that he had in, I think, 2022. And so I was like, okay, I got to look at him because this is ridiculous. And it's funny because some people say he can't turn over the ball. He can't force turnovers. And he had 4 picks in one game. But I watched his film at first and I was like, it's just a small school prospect. I'm not a huge fan. And then at the Senior Bowl, I heard he was going out there. I was like, okay, well, I got to check him out. And then he's just clamping every freaking player he's up against. Like, he's huge. Like, I mean, not as far as, like, length necessarily as much. Like, he is better than the top guys, but he's a bulky guy compared to these other prospects. And he runs like the wind, which I love all that. He seemed to know what he was doing in press coverage for not having much time there. It's sort of like how we talk about, like JPJ hasn't played a ton of snaps, but he shows the potential. It's sort of the same thing with Quinyon and why those two guys flew up the board. I don't know if they're going to fire Trent Baalke on the spot if he picks Quinyon Mitchell. Honestly, we'll have to see, though. You know, I'm sure that's definitely a possibility. And if we know Shad Khan, it's that he makes very rash decisions. It's definitely what he's shown over time. So let's go through some of these picks here. We got some weird picks taking place. We got Zalatu, the Eagles. There's a little bit of smoke behind that. McConkey here. That's fine. I think, yeah, A.D. Mitchell's still available, though. The Chiefs pass on A.D. Mitchell for Leggett. I want to note that. Which, I like both of them. But I just think that in Kansas City, that would be perfect for them. And then Latham to the Ravens is good. Although it felt like he was falling down. Okay, Kansas City. It's one of these guys. Okay, so Kansas City has mortgaged the future for the three-peat. Let's keep that in mind. That's really sad. I think my toddler would... Well, if I had a toddler, I think their head would have been taken off if they were getting thrown a football and by like a 21-year-old guy who plays the sport. Well, we got a little while until the second round here. We will see how long this takes, because if it goes really long, I might have to end early. But I can give you my thoughts on some prospects I would be willing to pick. We got McKinstry off the board finally. That's a really good pick for Tampa Bay. If you guys got any other questions about prospects or anything regarding the draft, it can even just be Jaguars related, not draft related. Make sure to throw them out. We're going to be here a little while until we get to our next pick. I have not heard about diabetes in A.D. Mitchell. Is that a thing? Actually, want to look that up after this. I have heard character concerns is the issue. And weirdly enough, out of all the people that were mentioned for A.D. Mitchell, all the teams, Jacksonville was on that list. So that's interesting. You got Worthy off the board. I know you guys were talking about him a little bit. Man, Newton is still here. We're going to have to put together an offer. Let's consider something here. So we got the 49ers, I think, would be a team to look at. Price starting a negotiation with. So pick 31 is worth 600. Ours is worth 420. We got to make up 180 if we want to get this done. I think to do that, I'd throw in 96 and a future fourth. See if they bite on that. We'll have to shoot it to him here in a second. We'll have to let these picks go by. Maybe that is why he takes plays off. That could be possible. All right, we got Buffalo's pick. This has got to be Mitchell. There's no way. Chop Robinson. Oh my gosh. Okay. Now we got the Bears up. Gosh, this would be Newton so quick. Like, both of these picks, in fact. He's got the Dolphins as well. They lost Christian Wilkins. But I don't think we can trade with both of them because they moved down. So Chicago's pick is in. Pick Byron Murphy. Okay, we had the other IDL on the board. Didn't notice that. Which I shouldn't say other. I mean, Murphy's a great prospect, but I just don't have him at the same level as Newton. So we are going to look to move up here. We'll have 2 fourths left if we do this. How about for the sake of all your sanity and being able to make maybe some more picks here, or earlier ones, let's flip 414 and a future third. Let's just throw in a 6th as well. We won't need that bad. And I'll send it as soon as Miami's made the selection here. Hopefully they take a look at this. See what Miami does. Okay, we've had a little too much complaining, man. I'm gonna be real. I've put you in timeout for a moment, Akiva, because you've literally just complained this entire live stream about everything. They're getting through pick 30 here. So they trade down from 21 to 25, 25 to 30. They're probably looking to move down again based off the amount of time they're taking here. Probably don't have a good offer. Javon Baker would be good. I'd like that. We'll see what Miami does. I'm going to click out of it pretty quick here. Let's see. Adonai Mitchell. All right. We're shooting our offer. We'll see if they consider it. So we're giving up pick 48 for pick 31. Keep in mind we are getting the 5th-year option here. We're saying a future third, our 4th, and our 6th. They get an extra pick here. If they take time on that, I will have another offer ready. Oh, gosh. Yeah, we can't do that. We got to do that there. Hopefully they just either accept it or reject it so I know whether I can send something else. But we are going to look to move up. Yeah, guys, honestly, I try not to ban people or any of that stuff, but there are some things that get a little ridiculous. Let's flip. See if I even get this in time. 2/3 to them to move up. I think that's fair. That would be pretty fair on the trade value chart. They're probably going to stay put, though. I mean, if I'm the 49ers and I just had Kinlaw leave and he didn't have a good rookie contract, I think I would definitely be looking to take Newton here. And I know they could take some other players, too. Barden would be a good one. Okay, they make the pick. All right, yeah. That blows. We can't move up further and can't get the trade done with the 49ers. They take Newton. That's a good pick by them. It would have been great if we could have got Newton, and he's one I've heard that there's both rumors that he's going to fall and there's rumors that he's going to go much earlier. The other guy they've talked about going earlier is Graham Barton, who I will probably shoot an offer to the Patriots if he's there. We'll see if he is. The Patriots have already moved back as well, so we know they're willing to move back in this draft. They could take another selection. I would probably flip. So they're picking 34, so 560, 420. Probably flip 96. And then maybe we'd go with like a future 4th if Barden makes it down that far. That's the last player I'm moving up for, realistically. This is my board here. Early 2nd round prospects. JPJ could be good. I do agree with that. I do think Barden is maybe a little better because he could play guard. I think he's got probably a better shot of doing that than JPJ. And you got 2 years of Mitch Morse at this point with the way they've done things. So let's see. what the Dallas Cowboys do. I have heard, and we talked about it. Okay, they traded out with the Chargers. We talked about it on the first round mock draft with Dustin Mosher, that they apparently are looking at Jordan Morgan at 24. So that's one to keep your eye on. And if you're doing any like sort of bets against people, like who can guess the most first rounders, that might be one you can get. Because he was saying most of the time with Dallas, they kind of make their prediction. Oh, of course, it's Barden. They make their picks almost like a month out, or they find who they want to take. Oh man, that kills me. I don't want to see that with Barden. Okay, Jackson Powers Johnson off the board. We are definitely not moving up now. Wide receivers left. We got Keon Coleman, Ricky Pearsall, Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, Devontae Walker, Javon Baker, Roman Wilson, Troy Franklin, Malachi Corley, Jermaine Burden. And then sneaky Jamari Thrash down here as well. He would be an awesome pick on day 3. You see, if it's a good interior offensive lineman, I would do it. I want to get the best players. I'm willing to maybe lose a little bit on that first year to get that done, but I just don't know if the player's there that high, especially because of the positional value. So I think you got to move back, or you got to move up like early day 2, like we were talking about here. Keon Coleman goes to the Patriots. So guys we're looking at, I think with wide receiver, for me, this is kind of the dead zone where Pearsall could be good, but it's sort of a weird situation because you're locked into 2 guys right now, Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis, and neither of them are going anywhere for the next 2 years. You need a wide receiver 1, you know that, and so you got to ask yourself, like, what's the value in picking a guy relatively high that is not that wide receiver 1? And that's why I don't do that a whole lot in the second round. It's like very rare you see that. I think the one guy I might have considered it with was like Xavier Legette. But it's sort of a hard decision because at some point, if you get the wide receiver 1 you want, then, well, I mean, now you got to replace the guy you picked at 48 maybe. Yeah, Miami, I don't know why they passed on Newton. That was a bad one. They did get A.D. Mitchell, but they kind of need a slot on that team because they got Waddle, they got Hill. Both of them, I think, mostly play outside. Oh, we got a Colts fan here. Who you won for the first round? I'll tell you this, by the way. It's not a Colts friendly channel, but out of the 3 other teams in this division, we do like you guys the most. I can at least speak for myself and say that because you're the only fan base that doesn't act irrational and like idiots most of the time. Other than our own, of course, which I'm never going to say anything bad about. Jordan Morgan to the Cardinals here. You probably want our guy, to be fair, and Quinyon Mitchell or maybe Bowers. I heard a lot of talk about. Penix is still here. I bet he probably goes... Where are the Raiders pick? They're back. I don't know if he makes it that far, but that would be a team that would make sense. Florida players are a curse. If we pick Torrance, though, it wouldn't have been a curse. I'll say that. Really quick, I want to thank you all for joining tonight. We have shattered, I think, the most people we've ever had in the live stream because it's, I think, before this was like 20 people. So we're over double that number, which is awesome. So we're definitely look to wait this out here. By the way, we just got to 600 subs, so thank you guys for that. Purity Empire, are you the one who just subbed here, actually? I do appreciate that if you were the one. I mean, I appreciate all of them, of course, but saying, I honestly don't got anything bad to say about anyone's team. I'm too nice. So I saw Colts took LSU wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr., but why? Did Bowers or did we not have a good cornerback to choose? So they had wide receivers flew off the board. Bowers went number 10. Colts did not trade up. And thank you for being a 600 sub. Appreciate that a lot. Terry and Arnold went off at 9. So here, like, it's not a bad pick with Junior, but I will say Mitchell was sitting there, and we were pretty happy when he went past 15. Because I know for Jacksonville, there's a lot of concern right now. If we want to go defense, that it ends up being our guy going at, number 15 to the Colts. So it worked out pretty well for us. But yeah, they probably missed on Mitchell there. I think he's a little safer than Brian Thomas Jr. Darius Robinson to the Titans, of course. Couldn't go any other way. Yeah, see, and Dagoon, that's what I'm saying about Gabe Davis. Like, I was pissed when we got him. I'll be real. But, once I thought about it, it's like, I got to at least give him a chance here. Because we thought the same thing about Christian Kirk. And he ended up being great. And he's absolutely worth the contract he's gotten. And I would imagine once this contract is over, like, he probably takes a pay cut to stick around here. I'm not talking about, like, earning $10 million a year, but it's probably similar to, like, what Aluakon did, for example. So I'd very much have to say that the Jaguars earned their respect there, and they've earned the chance with Gabe Davis, even though I definitely once made that move. So yeah, our big board is pretty close to consensus apparently, because we're here at pick 39. We've got Michael Penix Jr. still, and then we've got Edgerrin Cooper here. No one's saying he's going to be the same player that Christian Kirk is. Like, to be clear, what we're saying is that the idea that he does better in Jacksonville and the team knows how to use him well, and he has just better production in general, I do think that's possible. I don't know if he's a 1,000-yard receiver. I think that's a little lofty, and he's been close. But I do think he'll be a little more consistent here at the end of the day. But if it was me, like, I think I talked about this the other day on the channel, but, like, I would have probably been looking at Neighbors this year, not really investing a ton in the wide receiver, like, kind of holding it over, but getting the right guys, right? And waiting on T. Higgins for next season as well. I think that's the other guy, because he's going to hit the market, or he's going to be super cheap. They're going to keep him this year, and they're going to do that to win a Super Bowl, and you want to be the team that takes advantage of that and ends up, getting someone for a discount, and not talking about salary cap, of course, but just what you got to give up to go get him. Now you got the Clemson gang here, you got really good offense, and that would be what I would have done personally. Or maybe even both, because imagine if you got Neighbors this year and then you're looking to get Higgins in 2025. I mean, that would be crazy. Brendan Rice is interesting because his Senior Bowl was kind of like the exact opposite of what his Combine was. Because the Senior Bowl, he just couldn't separate. He didn't look that fast. And he played physical, like through routes, which was awesome, but he just didn't have that strong of hands at the catch point. And then we got to the Combine, and all of a sudden he's like one of the faster runners in the group, which was really confusing. So I don't know what's there. The last name definitely carries value, which should it not, like, definitely have a discussion there. But I do think he could be good, and I'd be fine if they pick him up maybe at 96 at the earliest, but I do think a better player will be there, just the nature of how the board falls. Got Braden Fisk of the Texans. Javon Baker, I think he will be good. I agree, and I don't know if it's number one, but potential number one, yeah. He could be that good. If you want to talk to a guy about Javon Baker all day, go talk to Dustin Mosier on Twitter. That's his guy this year. I'm hoping this offseason as well, after the draft, to have him back on the channel. Because although I'm sure fans will flame me because they'll say, we haven't even started the season. Why are you doing this? We're going to try to do summer scouting on the channel over the offseason. I do want to get into this year-round, be able to offer you guys some insight, especially Jaguar centric. So we will be taking a look at some of these 2025 players before the year starts. So that's your thing. Definitely watch. If it's not, I respect it. We got a whole season to play, of course, but this is what people do inside the building. They're not having the scouts take a vacation for 8 months and then, oh shoot, the year ended. Let me Google this guy's draft profile. Like, not doing that. Max Melton, the Falcons. I know that's a name getting a lot of traction in maybe even the late first. Was a thought maybe to Kansas City. Yeah, Savage will be awesome to watch. That was a really underrated signing. I know my brother's super happy about that because he's watched a bit of Packers football here recently. He'll be great in the slot though. That's what his build is really built for. So I'm excited to see that. And if you get Quinyon Mitchell, like, you've got an incredible secondary, I think, at that point. As long as Tyson Campbell goes back to form, which I think Campbell can do that, then you've got your positions locked down for quite a while. If you can get that extension done with him, with Andre Cisco, that'd be really nice. So we got 5 picks. We got Chris Jenkins here. Rakestraw's gone. That's sad. Christian Haynes as well. They're 2 players I really like at this point. So I will throw this out to you guys. Do you want to stay here at 48? Pick one of these guys? I mean, it's probably going to be Jenkins, unless he's gone. Like, that's the way I'm probably going to go here. This is your board. Or do you want to try to move back and get someone? Because I will say this. There will be a guy. If we move back here, maybe into the late second, if a team will take that offer, there's going to be someone we can take. So let me know. If you guys want to move back here, we will go ahead and start shooting out some offers quick. Because we don't got that much time. Yeah, the Colts do definitely need a cornerback. Which is what sucks, because they're at, pick 15 for us. But you guys are going to get someone good there. I get the feeling that the Colts are going to be the aggressive team out of the AFC South. I don't know if Jacksonville gets the trade done to move up if they want one of the receivers. Which is sad. Especially because this is the year to do it. Here's the wide receivers again. And Jay, like, having been a Stephon Diggs fantasy football owner, which I think completely justifies my train of thought, he did the same thing. Like, in that, just talking about that before this last year too, like, that team is weird at wide receiver. Like, their guys will be great for a game and then they'll disappear. With Diggs, it was just, there would be half a quarter where he would not get the ball, or actually a whole quarter, and then he would just get 100 yards after that. It's the same thing. It was just, it was maybe like more often, but they're weird up in Buffalo. I could understand it just for that reason. Polk is available, I'm pretty sure. You guys want to move down here? Because we got to shoot out offers. We got 2 picks here. I'm going to at least tell people 48 is available. Just to prove Polk is available. He's here. 46. There's a good pick to be had here. It's just that we could probably move back. We have, like, no agreement right now about what we want to do. I am going to shoot some trade offers for that reason. So let's look at maybe Green Bay. So with Green Bay, if they still have 324, we'll do that. They've been moving around a lot as well. The Bucks, same thing there. Take 325. I just got a trade offer. Still got one more team that's got to pick. Okay, look, would we accept this in real life? Yeah, I'd click this like in a second, but this is just a guy trying to get rid of his future picks so he can say he did better. So we're going to reject that. Let's see. We got Detroit for one of these. Let's throw out one to them. Okay, never mind. They traded away all their picks. We got the Bears. We'll shoot one to Chicago. They just sent us one, I think. Let's do that. We'll ask for a future fifth as well. Oh, the Titans want to do business? I don't think so, terrorist. Alright. We are now on the clock. We're going to have to make the pick if no one does anything with us here. So, let's see. We got Jenkins. We got Polk. Alright. I mean, Zay might have to be our wide receiver, unfortunately. Alright. Shout it out right now. Who wants Jenkins? Who wants Polk? I think you can argue for both of them for sure. We've got a minute 30 here. I know some of you guys have written this already. Write it again. I'm going to go off that. Which I do have Jenkins considerably higher. And they did just pull a guy from Michigan as well. Haynes, yep, we can talk about Haynes. That'd be great. Got Jenkins again. Jenkins. That's what we did last time, but I'd do it again. Jenkins. All right. I think it's going to be Jenkins here. Polk should go around this range. I have him at 46. But I do think it's kind of that same argument that, okay, if you pick Polk, you still want your wide receiver one who's getting benched, down the road. Because you're committed to these guys for the next 2 years. So Jenkins or Haynes. All right, we're going to go with Jenkins here. And hey, they are terrorists. Like, let's be real. It's the Titans. We don't negotiate with them. That's why I've spent literally no time talking about trading up to number 7 this class, because I cannot work with them. Now, if I'm stealing one of their players for a discount, then sure, that's fine. But anything else is not considerable. So yeah, I mean, real life, like, I think you're getting more offers here for pick number 48. I think you're getting teams that want to take a player there, and they would be willing to give you picks, and that's what I would do in this scenario. But everyone wants to rip you off on here, and so you just can't do it, because those trades aren't good enough, or they're just, oh, well, you'd have it next year, and then we don't get to actually do anything here. So Jenkins is our pick. We've gone defensive heavy at this point. Christian Haynes would be phenomenal. I am going to shoot some offers to move up here, potentially to try to get him when we're getting into maybe like the early 3rd round if he's still there. Some other guys we'd consider that about too. And I mean, like, talking about needing starters, I think these guys are starters. Pearsall is still there. I know Jenkins, obviously, like, you could just say, well, if I'm looking at the depth chart, he's technically 2nd, right? Well, the thing is, like, you rotate those guys a lot. And Jenkins, if you watched him in college, he plays interior. He also plays defensive end in those 4-3 looks. So you're getting in someone who's going to be able to play all over. You're also getting in someone who's a very good run defender right off the bat. And so maybe he's able to go out and carve more of a role in those looks where, well, the team struggled quite a bit. Like, I think he would take away Roy Robertson Harris's snaps. Although, of course, that feels like a waste of money. But you got to start your best players, and they've made that commitment. And whether it's good or bad, you got to do the best thing for your team. But they need depth, for sure. You got Kingsley Suamatea going to the Raiders here. Yeah, we don't deal with anyone. I'll do it with the Colts. That's it. Like, and the Texans, I don't want to. Like I said, if there's a player you can steal from them, that's fine. But no, like, we don't negotiate with these guys. I think the Colts, don't they have Jim Bob Cooter on their team as well? They've got some of our old brass. They got Gus Bradley, like interesting stuff going on there. Yeah, if you took Smoot, like if you signed him in this scenario, you'd be fine. I think, like, because he'll be fully recovered. I think he's only like 29. Like, he'll be better this next year. He just didn't have a good 2023, and he was having his best season before he tore his Achilles. And they rushed him in, like he had to play middle of the season. Yeah, appreciate it, guys. It's been a good draft. It's not the ideal one, right? Like you'd want better. You'd want to maybe have that shot for a top receiver, but I think it's turned out pretty well. So talking about needs here, like what might Jacksonville do with this team at this point? You need a pass rusher, I think, to add to this rotation. We mentioned Smoot just now. That would be an obvious one. I don't know if Justin Houston's playing again. If he's cheap, you could do that. He might have one more year in him. Calais Campbell sitting out there too. That'd be another one. That'd be a fun one. And Scrubber Ducky, yeah, I am actually a fan of that. You might have already seen it on my channel. I had advocated for the Jaguars to trade for John Mechie, because I do think he's like a guy who could actually start and play pretty good. He's just been screwed, quite frankly, in Houston, because he got drafted by, I think, Lovie Smith's regime, and then he had to sit out the whole year because he had cancer, and that's terrible, and that's a factor into his value as a player. But he came back after the year, and there's different guys in charge. They didn't want to start him. He barely got on the field, but when you watch the film on him, when you watch like how he's running routes, he's getting open, I think it's still there for what he was. And keep in mind, this guy was picked 44th overall. His value is going to be the lowest it's probably ever been or ever going to be. It could be a really fun way to maybe steal a player from a division rival that doesn't value said player. And if you have to, I know I sound crazy for this, but I would be fine starting him over Zay and cutting Zay. And I think you could survive with that. Now, I'd probably bring in insurance. There'd be players I'd be looking at to bring into the rotation because he got injury concerns. But I think Mechie would be phenomenal as far as a potential addition. Yeah, you can offer players sometimes in these, but you've got to talk to the people specifically, and there's not really any player trades I was thinking of. Plus, if we're talking about John Mechie and like a player trade, then it's going to be like a 5th rounder, and we're not even making that pick. I don't know if he's still typing them, to be honest, but he's welcome on here as long as we can be objective and enjoy life at some moments at least. So our picks after 17 with the Raiders, we got Kamari Lassiter to the Eagles, Ricky Pearsall to the Steelers. Ouch for us. Rams take Malachi Corley, Junior Colson to the Eagles as well. The Eagles have taken a lot of people in the back half of their secondary. Oh no, they didn't. I thought they had DeJean. I forgot that was Green Bay here. So we still got Haynes. Renardo Green would probably fall to 96, quite frankly, with how these usually go, but we got our outside guy. It's not really a need there now. I love Newbin. Just don't think there's a need for it. Yeah, Mechie's PFF grade's terrible. You just got to keep in mind that he's just not even getting put on the field. The first thing I watched of him on film at with Houston was him like getting wide open down the field, getting thrown a pass, and CJ Stroud like overshoots him. Like he could have had more production there. Like he's still a good route runner. He's still fast. I think there's a lot of things that he could offer. Got Devontae Walker off the board at 54. As far as my ranking for him, I think that's whenever this loads. It's pretty close to where he's at. Oh, I'm on cornerbacks. Let's see. Move over. I have him 55, which, keep in mind, that doesn't mean I think he's going second round. There's a lot of players teams are going to take that aren't even on my big board. So he's more of a guy, I think, at this point, with all the talk about him, we're probably looking at Walker, like, closer to 96, which would be really good value. Because then, like, okay, worst case scenario, we don't nail that pick, well, we have a really good backup. And you can justify that at least a little bit. It can be hard to enjoy life as a Jaguars fan at times. Hopefully not this year. Yeah, you have a good night, Purity Empire. Appreciate you coming on here. Love having some other fans on here too, especially when you're friendly. We're a friendly channel. We're not jackasses here or anything. So love having you on. You sleep well. Have a good night. We'll see you on Twitter. Oh, geez, he did mention linebackers. That's horrifying. I did hear that. If we didn't keep a Luakon, or he didn't take a pay cut, I would have been talking about linebackers a little bit. If I'm going to be honest, like Edgerrin Cooper, for example, I think he would have been such an awesome second round pick, but it's just when your like best player offers to take a 25% pay cut, you can't say no to that. Plus, you think of the players we can get here. We talked about Jenkins. You still got Christian Haynes here. Like, it's good stuff. Zay could bounce back. It's for sure. I think my evaluation with him at this point is that the best case scenario is that he's worth the money. That's not good enough to me. That's kind of my issue there. Yeah, I definitely would love to go best player for the offensive line. Something to throw out here, if you guys want me to. I could start throwing out trade offers and maybe throwing in like a future third. Because we could give up. Let's see what the value is. Let's take like Dallas's pick, for example. So 340. Our future third is here. It's worth almost 200, so we need another 145 points. 96 gets most of that. You guys want me to shoot out an offer for Christian Haynes here involving a future third? Because I think that would hit a pretty big need down the road. And he could start all over the interior. He'd be a perfect fit for what Jacksonville needs. Yeah, their shenanigans is unacceptable. This offseason has been a pleasant surprise, though, I will say, other than certain things, which I'm still very upset with. Like Calvin Ridley. The way that was dealt with was stupid. If Zach Zinner's there at 114, it's possible. I think he'd be worth it. Trade up. All right. Shooting on. Let's screw over the Texans. All right, Green Bay. Let's throw in. Does this look fair to you guys? I think that's good. They get an air pick for this draft. They get a future third. We moved down pretty far, of course, but the value's there. Okay, they just picked. We're not going to go... Oh my gosh! Damn it! Every team we freaking try to trade with takes our guy. Alright, well, we're not getting Christian Haynes. Damn it. Gosh. Backup corner could be important, but I do think Monteric Brown could be that guy. I mean, not ideal, right? But you also got Ronald Darby, so you need two guys to go down even for Monteric to have to be starting. Kind of forgot about Ronald Darby for a second. They didn't really use Ridley in a great way. Like, I think it would be awesome if he was a slot, but we can't start him in the slot. So, like, if I was Tennessee, like, I would be picking wide receiver at number 7, just whoever's there. Now, you couldn't in this draft, of course, but Yeah. Now, Javon Baker will probably be pretty close to 96. We should have a shot at him. So I'm not too worried about having to move up this far. And I think you got to give up a lot to go get him if that's the case. That's not ideal. But Zach Frazier, I think, has been gone for a little bit. Let's see. He went, early second round, which is probably where he should go. He's a fun player to watch on film. Hey, Darby is injury prone, but you can't get injured if you're not on the field that much, right? I mean, unless you like tear your ACL walking out, or maybe you're going to MetLife and step on the grass for a moment too long. That's possible. They considering? Oh my gosh, they're considering an Ayuk trade. Okay. Nothing here. Tyler Newman. It's a good pick for them. There is a lot of value in being able to drop that contract for Zay, for sure, because what you save this year would essentially be the difference in what your draft pool changes the cap by. So you're carrying over like the maximum amount into next season, which is really good for this team. So it is important to be able to get the replacement. We looked at 25 a little bit. Like, you've got right now, with the way things are, there's 91 million available. Now this will change because you'll have your rookies in here as well, and you'll have like 5 more guys we'll throw in here too. So they'll probably be sitting around a little over 80 million, I would guess, at the end of the day going into the next offseason, which is great. But I think you got to take advantage of that to get ahead on some of these contracts. Like, that's what I would have done personally this offseason, was try to reset the cap before you got to pay. You got to pay Trevor. So I would like to trade both of them, but I don't know if Zay Jones is tradable. I think that was more so that the 49ers just didn't believe anyone on the market was good enough to start, and they just would have taken the contract. So I don't think that was really something worth a ton of value. Maybe you could get a 7th, potentially. I could see that. But I would be open to trading a lot of players. I've been doing my mock rebuild. Okay, we got Jalen Polk off the board. That's killer. I've been doing a mock rebuild this offseason, so I did free agency, so took in a note like who I would have cut, what contracts I would have given out, so there are players I hit, players I missed on, like guys I targeted I didn't get, for example, like Mike Onwenu, Damian Lewis went to Carolina. It's a lot of things like that, and then I've done a lot of trades in that, and so we've got the draft coming up, so that's another thing I'll be doing on Thursday, is keeping track of that. That's why I have this built, actually, is to compare that to the mock rebuild. Which I'll pull that up really quick if you guys want to take a look at that. I'll have a video on this as well in May, probably after we do like breakdowns on prospects. But this is what I've done for like my decisions for the offseason. So you've got Mike Williams was who I got instead of Gabe Davis. Trade for Mechie. Still did Mac Jones. I was a big fan of Connor Williams. I think he's going to be really good for Jacksonville if he had gone here, but he's still out there on the market, unfortunately. And then I got Davenport and Okuda. There were a lot of like trades I've done, like players I just don't think are going to have a value here. I think Brandon Ayuk's probably, well, looking at that, the rumor is that 34 and 35 have been offered, and people have talked about the first round pick swap. It's not worth enough to get the trade done, unfortunately. So maybe, let me do my calculations here. So one idea I might throw out is maybe you flip 17 for 31 and you flip 48. So if you do that, it is worth 770. Yes, you're beating out that offer by a lot. So that might be too much. You could probably get it done. That could be an idea. So basically you send 17, but you move up from 48 to 31. That could be an option. But you're sending, just for numbers, the value is 770. And then you're looking at 560 being, or sorry, yeah, 560 being the highest offer from any other team. Plus, I just ideally don't want to pay that money. I want to get a guy. Got another pick here. Cardinals take Devondre Sweat. Going back to this, like trades I've done, just values I think you could have got for players. I think Ridley, if they had tagged him, I went with 103 from the Patriots for that because we know they were interested and there was value there where you could have probably matched the comp pick because teams were going to, at the end of the day, I think, be willing to send something like that to keep him off the market, to keep the price down, because he probably wouldn't have signed as big of a deal. And they could have controlled it if, you know, you got the Josh Allen extension done. I did a trade with the Commanders for Walker Little. So they need a left tackle. Chad Muma was a future 5th, so a little bit less than what Walker Little's worth, but he's got more years on his rookie deal. And then did the John Mechie trade as well. So those are the ones I've done. So I did Walker Little, Chad Muma, and then Cam's still on the team right now. Yeah, perhaps Connor's injury was more significant than we thought. It's unfortunate because, like, he's been better every single year that he's played. I mean, I'll show you what I mean by this, just going off PFF grading. And the film's good, too, which is important. PFF is not the almighty god of everything. But when he's playing, man, like, look at this. Every single year he's better. And he's 27 here soon. He's played 6 years of football in the NFL. This guy was less than 21 years old when he came in the league. He was 20. And he's just gotten better and better and better, and I think he fit the scheme. Like, he's someone that I understand his injury's bad, but I would have personally, like, still taken him. Kept him for a little bit, started him when he was fully healthy, like, just to get the rights to that player. Because I think if you got him, he could have been the long-term, like, center of the future for Jacksonville. So those were my thoughts. Like, that's what I would have done. I think he's going to be great still. He's been great so far throughout his career for sure. And yeah, next year's class, I have not looked into it too much. There's some players I really like. I know Barrett Carter was a player I was a big fan of. He's a linebacker, though, so not really going to talk about him too much. And then Emeka Egbuka was a fun one, but I don't know if he's going to be able to play outside much. He's got to prove that still. So that's kind of the issue with him. But I do think that he's going to be pretty good at the next level. He feels like Christian Kirk all over again is what I felt like watching him. But he'll be in that class. Yeah, Ricky Pearsall, I'm a fan of him. I think he'd be a great D. He's probably one of the only guys I'm considering in the second round because I do think you look at like how Jacksonville was successful in 2022, being able to make the playoffs. They did not have that elite number one, but they had guys who could be consistently reliable, catch the ball. They're blocking well enough, and it worked out pretty dang well. So I think with Ricky Pearsall, like he could be a solid addition and kind of round out the receiving core, and you've got all these reliable players that you can work with. Let's see. I liked Williams in college, but signing him as a center means you probably have to roll with Fortner for half the season. Can't do that. Hey, man, if it was me, oh my gosh, I didn't even throw that out. I traded Fortner in mine as well to Denver. That's the other one. But it doesn't show up because it's a future pick. I would trade Fortner right now. Like, I know teams won't pay you a lot. You're going to get, like, pennies on the dollar, but I don't think he's going to be anything in the NFL. I think he'll be out of the league, in fact, a few years down the road at this point, which I hate saying it. Like, he's a likable guy, but he's not that great. He's been terrible. At best, he's been an average pass blocker, which isn't good enough. But what I would have done, like, I would have just put Tyler Shatley out there for part of the season if you had to. I know that's not ideal necessarily. Could have also trained up Cooper Hodges. There's things you can do to try to mitigate it for now. I mean, what if you pick Cooper Beebe in the draft, who's a guard, but you can start him at center potentially early on in his career? Like, there's ways that I would find to make sure I could get through that time to go get the player that I think can be great for this franchise for the next half a decade. So I'd be willing to do that with Williams because it's worth it. We got Michael Hall Jr. off the board. Good player. Big fan of him. I'm the leader of the fan club, by the way. But we got Chris Jenkins, so that's all right. We've got Green. Got Patrick Paul. Jalen McMillan. He'd be my guy for the wide receiver we had here, because I do think he can play Z. It's not his ideal role, but I do think he's capable. He could be a sneaky guy. Tackles next year, I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a guy in Ohio State that's really good, or he at least moves like just incredibly. So I know he's going to be one to watch. I don't know many other tackles, though. I've had to force myself to not really look at it too much. Yeah, McMillan versus Polk. Hey, McMillan was higher than him at the start of this cycle. And there's good reason for that. Like, there's been comps to Amon-Ra St. Brown thrown around with him. I do think that's a little too high because we're talking about an elite wide receiver one. But McMillan is a damn good route runner. It's one of the best we've seen in this class. And he did play outside a couple years back. So I do think he's someone you could bring in, maybe train up to go do that. But I just like his speed. I like the way he plays and he gets open. It's just a question of physicality, which if you're playing that Z role, it's not the end of the world because you're not lined up on the line of scrimmage. You're not going through press as much. I think he could survive doing that. Yes, the difference between... Okay, sorry. I hope Cooper Hodges pans out. I was excited for him before he got injured. I think he could. And then we got Baker off the board, unfortunately. We'll look to move up here soon, maybe for a certain player. Maybe not. I don't know if we got anyone I want to move up for. But, yeah, Cooper Hodges, I never watched this film before he was drafted. Checked him out after. And my first thought was like, if you move him inside, he's going to be a starter. He can do that. And so I do think he can pull that off. Like, even in my mock rebuild right now, like, he's my right guard. Now, would I upgrade if I could? Of course, I would do that. But I don't think you have to. I think he could start for the team. Maybe he's the right guard of the future. But he's got to earn it, of course. He hasn't played a single snap during the regular season yet. Now, the difference between Mitch Morse and Luke Fortner, I think he's just better at everything, to be fair. But Morse is not that great of a run blocker, which I'm not a huge fan of. He actually grades out pretty poorly as far as that goes. It's average to below average most of the time. But he is a good pass protector. He plays with physicality. It's things that we're missing. I do like that about him, but I would have made a bigger investment at center. I just don't think Jacksonville wanted to because, well, they don't do a good job of admitting when they're wrong, and they were wrong picking Luke Fortner at 65. Chris Jenkins versus Michael Hall Jr. I think Jenkins is better just kind of for the sake that he's actually played at this weight. Michael Hall Jr. has put on a lot of weight, which is great, but I don't know if he's going to play super well at it. He might have to kind of figure things out the first year. And honestly, a little bit of it is like the people Jenkins is around because his dad was a damn good football player, and he's got him at his disposal. He's played pretty well throughout college as well. Like, I know he's going to be on the field a lot, And with Michael Hall Jr., he didn't really play as much at Ohio State as what maybe Chris Jenkins did at Michigan. So there's some reasons, but I do think Michael Hall Jr. could be better. He's also younger, which I'm a huge fan of, and he's got a bit of a pass rush profile already, which is great. Yeah, Cooper Beebe and Zach Zinner are guys I'm always looking at on day 3 if they're there. And Cooper Beebe I'd take earlier if you have to. For sure. If we get Devon Hamilton healthy, they could be a top 5 unit. Just kind of depends. Jalen McMillan's off the board here. We're really looking bad at receiver. And I'm not going to trade a ton of capital to move up for someone that we're not hedging the future on, which is why we're not looking too close at trades at the moment. Tez Walker was picked back with the Browns, I think. Yeah, at 54. So he's gone. Baker's gone. Yeah, wide receiver is not ideal here. And they've flown off the board super fast. I will look at Thrash. I do think he could be someone you could bring in and start for a year that could be fine. He was pretty good at the Senior Bowl, so he's kind of my backup plan here. We might snag him in the 4th round, but if someone takes him early, well, that kind of sucks. Teatori, oh my gosh, I can't say his name. Let's say McMillan, the Arizona wide receiver in 2025. Yeah, I've heard he's pretty high. I've seen him high on rankings. He's going to be one of my first watches. I'll probably go position by position and then put out videos on them throughout the summer. That's my plan right now. Let's see. I think Morse was actually a pretty good run blocker in KC. He was fine then. Jalen Coker, I just watched recently. He was all right. I don't think he's someone I'd be too huge on, but I might watch him again before the draft. Also, Josh is my brother's name. He was on the channel for our fans' thoughts on the 2024 NFL draft as well. Yeah, Blake Fisher off here. Yeah, what I want the Jaguars to do? Well, you'll get a video on that here in a couple days, but I'll just spoil it now because I've already pretty much done that. I want them to get Malik Neighbors, and I don't know how early I want them to trade up. I'd be fine with it being a lot to give up for him because I think he could be worth it long term. But I also kind of feel that way because I don't trust them with those later picks. Like, I just don't think they get great value out of them, which doesn't mean it's a good decision, but I think if you're honest about that, and they never would be because they don't trade a lot to get things done like that, I would rather have Malik Neighbors than picks that go towards guys like Brennan Strange and Chad Muma that aren't going to have a role on the team. So I'm on that train. I would take him, ideally. I think he's the best player we could get. I think Romo Dunze is phenomenal, too. He'd be really fun. After that, I would actually be looking at Olu Fashanu because I would love to get in our bookend tackle because you think if we have 2 young guys that are really good, that fit the scheme well, playing at a high level, you're paying nothing for them, that might be the best tackle situation in the NFL. And I'm sure there's probably some team out there you could throw out that maybe is better, but I think he would be phenomenal for them. But if not, we're just taking best player at 17. This is Walk the Mock. So it's subscription based. You can get a discount. I know Broshmo does a lot of it. He's a great guy to watch if you want draft content all year round. He's one of my big guys I go to. So definitely check him out. But he'll give you 50% off. So I think it's like $15 if you do that, and that's 30 from there. But it's worth having because you get to go on here and make picks and do it with people, and it gets to be realistic. Now, we've answered a lot of questions here, and it just got thrown out that BB's still on the board. With that being an obvious need, I think we should look to move up here with the team. So let's look at Denver. We're not taking Renardo. I know he's way higher, but we are in a situation where the board is really just not looking that great for us. Like, our players are going fast, so I think we got to make a move. Let's see if they consider this. I don't know if that's even close, honestly. Denver's pick is 210 to 116. Yeah. I mean, it's okay. They get another pick. If we keep throwing out trades like that, I think someone will bite, as long as, you know, they don't just say, oh, you want Cooper Beebe? I'm picking him. I don't touch TikTok. Just being honest, I don't touch it at all. My plan is to probably just keep things on YouTube, and then maybe, you know, maybe try to get some things on Twitter at some point, but mainly just YouTube. I used to have a website I did, which was great. Oh, we're on the board. All right. Moving up to 12. There we go, guys. You can be happy about it. No future picks gone. We're getting the easy starter on the offensive line. Got our right guard of the future. So that's a good one. But this would be the scenario where I'd trade those picks, because, you know, you look at the board, it's just a barren wasteland, I think. Like, Christian Jones is my top guy after the cornerbacks and the running back. And he's what? Like, to me, I think he's probably a swing tackle. And we're sitting here at 76 making this pick on BB. Just gotta make the pick. That's the scenario where I think you're moving up. But if the board can fall well, it's worth it. But usually around this 3rd to 4th round, it can get pretty bad. Yeah, we moved up for BB for you, Jay. Yeah, I saw his 7-rounder. I actually watched some of it here recently, a couple hours before this. I mean, Verse is fine. He's a great player, but I would prefer if we can go get, you know, Dallas Turner over him, because I do think that could be a better player. But man, like, you could argue it either way. I mean, you could just sit here and say, well, don't you want the guy who's proven? And I think Verse would be a perfect fit as well. So I'm not too upset about it. I just think Turner could be better. But yeah, just my thoughts. I'm just going to post the website for you. I did mention what it was earlier. Maybe you missed it. But there's the link you can go to that should take you there. Yeah, it's been a good draft. Not perfect, but definitely good. Because our goal, we were talking about this with Toriano on our stream the other day. It wasn't a stream. It was the 2-hour fans video. But we were saying, like, ideally you want to set the bar high, right? And you want to try to get, like, 4 starters. Or 4 impact players is how we word it in a draft. That's the ideal scenario. And you're not always going to do that. But if you can do that, that's a big deal. And that keeps your contracts cheap. That gives you options. That lets you get into situations where you maybe don't want to pay a player because you got someone sitting in the wings below them that's good. You could flip players for more picks to hit on, and you're just in this constant cycle, right? Of just drafting well and having to turn over parts of the roster, of course, like every other team, but you're more prepared for that. That's where I want Jacksonville to be able to get. You have a good night, Jose. Yeah, Mason Smith off the board after our pick. This is really going slow after that. I don't know if we'll be able to move up from the 4th round pick. We'll probably stay put and make that and then call it good here. Hopefully it doesn't take super long. It has been a longer stream, but Thursday is going to be way longer because we got the whole 1st round, 8 minutes a pick. It's going to take a while. But yeah, I mean, now with BB, like, I would say your offensive line looks really good. You've still got Walker Little here as well. So you got your backup there. You got your backup at guard. I would call Tyler Shatley the backup center, although Jacksonville won't, which nothing we can do about that. So your offensive line is set pretty well for this next year. And we do need a kicker. Throw that out. Wide receiver, obviously, is my major issue, which something is going to get missed. the amount of picks we have, it's going to be the case. I can't adjust the time between picks. It's not my draft, and there's other guys in here. It's 2 minutes a pick. It would be better if it was 1, but they didn't set it that way, so it just takes an eternity for some of these. If it takes really long, we might end it early. But if we got things to talk about, we got things to talk about. And I got a nap in today. My shift is in 7 hours, but I've got some sleep already, so I can stay up for a bit. But yeah, I think wide receiver, like, definitely want to add someone there. The defensive line be great to get another pass rusher. Not sure we're doing it at this point, but that would be a nice addition. We talked about DeJuan Smoot. But, I mean, the rest of the defense is, I think, great. You need a kicker. So we're really looking at, like, wide receiver, probably, with this next pick. It kills me not to be able to take Brownlee, because I just don't think he starts. Jonah Ellis, I think, is available. Yep, he is. Not super high on him. He's another guy I got to rewatch, I think, because he got dropped because of size for me, I'm pretty sure. He's young. His size isn't bad. His wingspan's not ideal. What did I say? It's height, I think, is part of it. I will have to reevaluate him because I'm probably a bit off from where I should be with Jonah Ellis. You threw out Brennan Jackson to me the other day. I still haven't watched him, honestly. Hopefully I can. I'll be honest, guys. Like, I am very worn out from this whole draft cycle. I just want to see what the dang picks are and, like, be able to evaluate those, be excited about new players, and then maybe in, like, a month be, like, looking harder into next year and some new players, and it can get a little more exciting. But yeah, I'm very worn out at this point. Brandon Coleman is nice. He had an awesome receiving rep at the Senior Bowl I got to record. I just looked at that earlier today. You can go on to his Twitter and you can find it on there. It's one of his most recent posts. But they were screwing around there. But yeah, Brandon Coleman's got, like, awesome size. I just don't think he's, like, technically refined at all, which is the issue. Like, I would have him come in and I would sit him for a couple years and then maybe see if he can start. That's my plan for him if I pick him. 6'3" wide receivers. Johnny Wilson. I think he beats that by a bit. Brendan Rice, lists him as 6'3" here. I think he's a little shorter than that. Cornelius Johnson is still here. Joshua Cephas. And then, yeah, I already said Johnny. That's kind of it for the guys I have on my big board. We do got some guys with size still. I think at this point, I know I have Thrash much higher than Rice, but I might take Rice in the 4th. I'll probably let you guys decide that if we're going receiver. It does depend on who's here, though, because if there's a player who's just far and above better, we might go that direction. Yeah, Jonah Ellis was super productive. We'll take a look at him really quick. I think he graded out really well on PFF, too. It's also Utah Ute, which you gotta love. Yeah, he had an 85. His pass rush grade was a 90. He played 10 games, and he had 13 sacks he was involved in. The way PFF has this, each sack could be a sack or a half sack. So, like, even go to Josh Allen. We know he had 17 and a half. There's 3 Josh Allens now, by the way. But on here, he has 19. Because there were 3 of those that were half sacks. It'd be nice to see more from Cooks. I think ideally, though, you'd hope you were able to add to this wide receiver core enough to where, like, you don't even have him on your roster. Not meaning that in a mean way, but you'd like to have built up your receiving core that much. Jacksonville just hasn't been picking there, so that's really killed it. Yeah, we're we're ready for this draft. I can't wait to get there. I got 2 days of work, and then I'm heading up to Iowa to go see my brother and watch it. So I'm just waiting for those to go by. We got a guy we visited going off here, Jermaine Burton. I don't know if that really means we're super interested in him, because honestly, it might just be for the sake of getting to know him, and if there's character concerns, which there are. But that might be why they've been talking to him. Yeah, I'm prepared to be disappointed as well. I'm going to try to be optimistic. The good thing is that I'll be streaming during the one night that we know they're going to do a good job, even if it's not the best pick. Like, I do trust them in the first round. They haven't had a bust for a while. Knock on wood. But once we get through that first round, yeah, I'm not streaming because things are probably not going to go as well after that. Well, doing the math here, we are picking 116, and it is currently pick 84. So we would have an hour until our next pick. So I think I am going to wrap this up here shortly. So we'll get in any last questions, and I'll just give you my thoughts on who I'd pick with this fourth rounder. If it was 1 minute per pick, it'd be so much better because we'd be there quick. We'd probably be in the 5th round by now, but obviously it's a 4-rounder. And yeah, I think, yeah, Burden is good. It's off-field issues solely. A lot of people out there, including myself, we just went on Twitter and were like, hey, why does no one have Jermaine Burden as like an early 2nd rounder? And then you hear he punched a girl, and you're like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is my guy in this cycle. I didn't know anything about him before the Senior Bowl, but he was a menace out there. I will say, like, how I would have dealt with it and how I plan to deal with it, like in my rebuild. I want to sign Savage. I know that he was a good signing. Like, I do believe that. But I think you could have got Brownlee with one of those 4th rounders, probably, with where he goes. And I think he's going to be really good. And that would have been ideal. But you obviously can't plan for that guy to be there. So what can you do? Yeah, visits are a lying season. I don't even know if we had Anton Harrison in last year for a visit, if I'm being honest. Caldwell was either great or terrible. He had like one of the best picks in Jaguars history with like Ramsey and Ngakoue, and I think he even got Miles Jack in that one. And then he also was the guy who picked, let's see, it was Henderson over Tristan Wirfs and Justin Jefferson, and then he doubled down on Chason over Jefferson. So he was definitely a mixed bag of emotions for Jaguars fans, but generally bad. He's a likable guy, but just it didn't work out. Well, we've been going here for nearly 2 hours. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. I will give you my thoughts, though, on this pick. Yeah, definitely Brownlee over Jones. I do have that. I actually don't have Jones that high, but I just never really saw it on film with him. That could also just be a matter of not having enough time to evaluate everyone properly. But if it's me with this 4th rounder, man, I know Renardo Green's like such a huge steal there as an early 2nd. It would be tempting to go that way. I think if some of the top options at other positions went and he was still there, I would take him. I know that sounds stupid, but he's just too good of a player. Like, sometimes you get in that situation. So that'd probably be my pick if some of these other guys go. I think outside of that, Brownlee would probably be the option. Behind that, you've got Jones and Thrash. I would prefer Thrash over Jones with where we're at, because I think that is like a much bigger need, and I think he can lock down receiver for a year. So I would like that pick in the 4th. It'd make me feel a lot better. I know we also got Mac Jones, but I kind of like Michael Pratt. I think he'd be a phenomenal backup, and this is around where I'd consider spending a pick. So there'd be a thought on it, but I don't think it would take place at 416. I think it'd be more of like 5th round if he falls that far. But yeah, we'd have to see how this ends. Maybe I'll post this on Twitter. If I haven't fallen asleep yet and I get my notification to make my pick, I'll let you guys know what I did. But those are my thoughts on the 4th rounder we have left here. Don't think we're trading in the 4th round either, because we already made our trade up for Cooper Beebe, which was a very good pick. Yeah, don't we all have PTSD from that one? Sad. Well, guys, I appreciate you joining. Really appreciate slaughtering the views record we've had on this channel for a live stream. It's awesome. Definitely let me know what your guys' thoughts are on all the videos this week. We'll have a lot coming out. I don't know how soon the video tomorrow will be out. It might be really late. I'm going to try to get it out at a good time, though. But I'll go through my predictions for the entire draft for Jacksonville. We'll have thoughts on who I'd pick, which I already told you it's Neighbors. That'll be who we talk about. That'll be Tuesday. Wednesday will be our final mock draft. Won't be a live stream. It'll just be PFF. I'll give you my final thoughts there as far as that goes. And then the actual final thoughts will be on Thursday, where I'll just kind of talk about like 1st round, my strategy, which we discussed a little bit here, but all that sort of stuff. But yeah. And yeah, Renardo Green, probably going to have to be the guy for sure. Yeah, appreciate it. Definitely hit like, we got 17 likes in here, which is great. I try not to ask for that stuff. I think it can be a little cringy at times, but I do appreciate when you guys do that. And I mentioned this before on the last stream. We do have memberships now on this channel. So if you guys are interested in that, offer different things with that. The highest level, we are going to have roundtables. I hope to get people in on them, but it'll just be like an hour or two every month where we'll talk Jags, and it'll be private, but you guys are in on that. We have a Discord you can join through all that stuff, but definitely check it out if you're interested. Appreciate all the support though, whether or not you guys do any of that. But thanks for watching. Hope you all have a great rest of your night. I'm gonna hop off here, get ready for work, but just got one last thing to say, and that is go Jags. We'll see y'all this week.